Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. This is episode 48. Yes, 48 of the podcast that you love to listen to. My name is Donovan Thompson, my co-host.
Daniel Wingfield.
And today we're joined by none other again than Dr. Bruce Hutchinson.
Glad to be here again, still wearing the mask. Do you guys like this mask, by the way?
I do like it. Silence of the Lambs. It's very Silence of the Lambs.
I made it myself.
Ooh. Did you really?
Yes.
Was that the
That's really
intention
good.
to homage Silence of the Lambs? Or
No, I
you
just like the
mods?
pattern.
You should have lied to me.
But
No.
yeah, I made it from scratch.
And if you guys can't see the mask, that's probably because you're on a podcast service, and you should go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And of course, leave comments. That way we can review them later.
I'll be honest, the mask design alone is worth a YouTube subscription.
It is.
I
It really is.
I would feel that way.
And today we're talking Atomic Blonde. Previously, we went through the Dark Knight trilogy, or the first two movies in the Dark Knight trilogy, depending on who
We
you
went
talk
through
to.
what should have been the Dark Knight duology, but
Duology.
Duology.
Yes.
There we go. Well, today we're back to talk Charlize Theron. Atomic Blonde came out, 2017?
What?
I believe.
that old?
2017. It's David Leitch, who also co-directed John Wick. And it's funny because you mentioned to me, like, this feels very John Wick when you're texting me while you're watching. I'm like, yeah, he co-directed John Wick.
The first one only.
Yeah, and he also, there's even been talks of them doing crossovers later.
This?
Yeah, they've had serious discussions about it. And so they said if the story is right, they will do that. And of course, there is a sequel already in development for Atomic Blonde. Now, Bruce, I remember when I saw this movie in theaters. Wait, did we see this together in theaters? We did not.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, 2017.
Did you, you love this movie, right?
I love this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who suggested we do it.
Sure.
There are certain movies that as soon as I see the trailer, I just said I don't watch trailers that often, but there's certain movies when I see the trailer, I'm just like,
pause you real quick, just so that this is facing you.
okay. Right on.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Behind the scenes,
Yeah,
the
there we
curtain
go.
has been lifted.
What I
Now
do?
you know how we make this.
Can you snap again and then we
Nah,
just
don't
No,
ever
we're going to
go.
leave this one as it goes.
Yeah. So anyway, the moment I saw the trailer, I was like, I know I'm going to love this movie, which of course is dangerous. But then I watched the movie and I loved the movie. I think it's fantastic. I think it's got great design. I love the production design. I love the costuming. I love the action sequences. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best action movies of the 21st century. And to sort of kind of match Daniel's discussion from Batman about Heath Ledger being like the best superhero villain, can we argue that Charlize is the biggest action star of the 21st century?
The biggest action star or biggest female action star of the 21st century?
I would just say action star. She is in not just Atomic Blonde, but she's also in
Mad Max. The Old Guard.
Arguably two of the best action movies of the 21st century. She is the star of.
Best or biggest? Are we talking like the...
Yeah, I come back. I feel like
I don't
maybe
know,
John
Bruce.
Wick is bigger to the century than her movies. Just in terms of action films, I don't hear. And to your point about Mad Max, I don't even. It is an action movie, but I don't think of it like a John Wick action movie for some reason.
There are
because
different
there's
kinds of action, but
there definitely is.
it's
But to
still
me,
an action movie.
it is, but to me, it feels also kind of bigger than just an action movie. It's. I feel like it's trying to say some things that most action movies aren't trying to be
True.
vocal about. It has a message in a way that action movies to me don't usually.
But if you
Googled
Googled what is the best action movie of the 21st century,
it's probably up there.
Mad Max will be the answer.
Can you tell me what 21st century, talking about like 2000 to now? Or
yeah, 2000 to now.
Oh, man,
Yeah, but then you got the Matrix in there.
No, that's 99. So that was like, that's right.
Well, the
before.
first one.
I know.
But
But no one says 2 and 3.
Sorry,
It's fucking
I apologize.
anything.
I just shouldn't have
And
brought
by
it
the
up.
and to give you credit, I would say the other person that you'd put with Charlize would be Keanu.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, like when you think about
I
it,
don't
you're
know.
like, that just doesn't seem right. But then when you think of the Matrix movies and you think of John Wick movies, You're like,
Constantine.
I can't.
I mean, who can you put?
I can't safely say she's the biggest.
I would
action
say
star.
The Rock is up there probably.
The Rock
Vin
is big.
Oh
Diesel.
yeah, you could put The Rock.
I mean, to me, I've always said for a long time that The Rock is an old, like, if we go back 20 years or so, like, there's actually these big movie stars that actually hold or can carry a franchise by their name, and he's one of the few lasting ones that can do that.
Right.
And you look at like the Marvel movies, those characters are doing it, not the actors, because even though the actors are huge, when they go out of those movies, their movies don't
the
do
success
good.
doesn't translate.
They do not
Dr.
translate at
Dolittle
all.
being a great example.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think The Rock is one of those people. Tom Cruise has still managed to be one of those people, at least
Tom
in
Cruise
name,
is up there.
you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, how many actors can we say? I don't think Charlize Theron is one of those actresses where you can be like, "Oh, Charlize Theron, I'm gonna go." I don't know.
I also would
It
say,
depends on how you define it.
Yes,
It does.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Go ahead, Daniel.
yes.
I mean, how many Mission Impossible movies have we had this 21st century?
3,
And we've had some
More
really good
than
ones.
that.
Yeah.
More than that.
2, 4 then, because 2003 was Mission Impossible 3, I guess, and then 90.
I think 2000 we got one, right?
was that 96 or 7 was Mission Impossible 1. 2001 might have been Mission Impossible 2. Then 2007
Yeah.
actually was 3. Anyway, we did all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's an interesting argument. I think maybe
I don't like it. I don't like saying that it's just the best, one of the best action movies ever made. I just don't think we're going to get there. We're going to get
Yeah,
there.
I personally don't share that opinion, but I do think the bigger discussion about Charlize, we're on a first name basis. I do
Naturally.
think there is an interesting discussion around her because that's another one where I'm like, do I think of her as an action star? Because I almost think of her, well, she's got more to give than the action star.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I
yet,
mean?
that's what she has kind of been doing in the
Lately.
same way that, that Liam Neeson went
Right,
from
right,
being this A
Schindler's
plus
List to
top list to
Taken.
being mostly an action star,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Charlize won't do other things,
Sure.
but, she does do another Atomic Blonde. Unfortunately, they're doing a sequel to Mad Max, but she's not going to be in it because it's
know.
going to be,
But
It's a
didn't
pre-
she-
It's a
it's going to be the
prequel.
character,
Oh.
in a younger age. But
Stupid.
yeah,
Very stupid.
I agree.
That's like a missed opportunity. But
Sure.
question, sidebar. Did you like the old guard?
I did. I mean, I wouldn't put it on the same level as the other two Charlize
yeah.
movies we've been talking about, but
The Old Guard feels like a cash in on Atomic Blonde and Mad Max. It feels like, oh, look, Charlize is which may be the best validation of what you're saying of now
can
we're
bank a
starting to
movie
see
on her,
people
yeah.
just be like, oh, we got an action film. Who do we need? Charlize.
She's
You know,
Mad
and-
Max definitely cemented her as like
Oh,
the modern female heroine, like Sigourney was with Aliens, like
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton was with Terminator, or Sarah Connor. She is. I mean, I don't know. I need to think about this, gentlemen. I need to stew on it.
I think regardless of whether we want to use these top superlatives, the best, the biggest.
Sure.
I think part of just saying that is making you realize that Charlene is,
Yeah.
I don't
like
like
when you
you on
just
this
think
show
about it, you're not
anymore.
thinking that, but then you're like, well, wait a minute. She's been in some of the, I mean, even if you don't agree with me about Atomic Blonde, I mean,
Right.
it's a really strong action movie.
It's a well-made movie.
And,
It's well made.
it's not the first person you think of as sort of these top action stars, but she's kind of becoming that for sure.
Sure, I definitely, yeah.
No, I
that
think
makes
I think
sense.
it's a
valid.
super valid.
It's very.
I think it's one of those things that like, I wouldn't have ever thought of it, but now you put it on the table and like, yeah, you are right. I mean, like,
Yeah.
she's much more prominent in that space than I think of. When I think of
Exactly,
Charlize
than you
Theron,
think of, right.
I don't just
Right.
think of action movies. I think of kind of her breadth of her career.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. That'll be something to maybe circle back to once we finish the review of this of
Cool.
Atomic Blonde.
Well, where do we want to go? Do we want to start with the actual script, or do we want to just kind of? We know you liked the movie. You said you loved it.
Yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
what do you think about
Yeah,
it overall?
I hear what you guys
in
thought.
broad
Sure.
strokes of it.
I loved parts of it. I agree with you. I think the lighting and the production design, the costuming is all gorgeous and kind of this nice, kind of. It's interesting that it's set in '89 because it feels futuristic at times with, especially like her hotel room and the way they did the neon lights and things like
81.
No, 89.
No, 89.
It's 89.
It's right before the Berlin Wall fell.
89. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, dumbass. Excuse. So I loved all that. The dialogue in the interview stuff I never gelled with. I always felt like it was a little on the nose or predictable. And I personally wish we'd gotten a little more out of what's her name in the movie? Is it Lori? What's
Lorraine?
Lorraine. Sorry. I knew we got her relationship a little bit with the French operative, and I'm a little with you. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she was having a relationship with the guy that dies in the beginning, Gascoigne.
Yeah,
100%.
But just, I guess I would. The personal stakes in it never felt like they were tangible enough for her. It felt like she was always on the job. Even in her relationship with the French girl, it felt like kind of a James Bond way of doing it, where you're not really in a relationship, you're using this to get where you want to be. So there was a little bit. I wish I could have connected with her a little more, but I agree the action was great. The lighting, the costuming, all that, not great. Not super hyped on the dialogue. A lot of that was a little clunky for me, but a super solid, action film that is, it's impossible not to compare it with like your John Wicks, even just for the lighting at times.
Well, let me ask you, let me challenge you a little bit on what you're saying. By the way, I don't disagree that,
Sure.
I mean, when we get into goals and stuff, I'll just say, right now, she's got no internal goal at all, right? I mean, it's completely external. Would you say that John Wick
I
is
knew this was coming.
a more developed?
I was thinking this as he was saying it.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and here's why it's okay, John Wick. The beginning of it was very powerful, and it carried it for that movie. But the thing that John Wick has over this movie is that it has much, much more intricate and exciting action set pieces than Atomic Blonde does, and so that's why you can get away with it more in those three movies.
I think there's a difference too, though. I think with John Wick, they've boiled down the concept to a bare minimum, but they're leaning into that. They're saying you fucked up his dog. Now he's going to kill all of you. Right. And because the stake in it is that his dog got killed and he misses his wife and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so it's easy, I guess, to connect with that stake. But because it's just kind of like you fucked with his dog, now you all die, because that's the stakes of the world, versus Atomic Blonde, where it's like, I guess a world war or all the secret agents get killed or whatever is the worst outcome of the KGB getting the list or whatever that is. I guess to me, because it's trying to be this giant world political drama and height of the Cold War, that because there isn't anything to personalize it, I'm like, okay. I mean, okay. With John Wick, it's like, well, he killed his dog. Now he's going to fuck you up.
Yeah,
right?
but by the time you get to John Wick 3, are you still thinking about the dog?
No, at that point it's just...
I will give you that in the first movie, yes, the dog does give us a little bit more personal connection. But by 2 and 3, are we really...
But they supplement what you're talking about with two things. A great intricate mythology.
The world building is good.
World building is great in 2 and 3, mainly 2. And then also the action is bar none better than Atomic Blonde's.
I'm not sure I would agree with that.
I would say 2 and 3, though. I agree with you. The world building is really where I get a lot of at that point, they're kind of leaning into, because I mean, that's the whole plot of 2, right? 2 is the one where he's on the run from that's 3.
2, he's 3's on the run. 2, he's trying to basically settle a debt. Kind of.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's fair. Honestly, I prefer John Wick 1 to 2 and 3, just as a movie.
Sure.
But I think I do agree with Donovan that the action to me is a bit better in John Wick.
Yes. Oh, yes.
But not to say that that's I mean, I still think the Atomic Blonde action was good. I wouldn't say like, oh, this is bad. It's just, to me, there was a bit more going on in John Wick. There's a bit more constant stimulation, which maybe it's appealing to my caveman brain.
I think because there's let me back up. I think, yes, I'm gonna agree with you, Bruce. I think the direction it's all of it is really well made. I think that there's an all-star cast. I love John Goodman. I can't think of the guy's name, but he was the Zola in Winter Soldier. He's like her KGB, or he was like the guy interrogating her, I think, for the movie. I can't think of his actor name.
The mousy looking dude.
Toby Jones.
Yes, Toby Jones. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
he's in lots
all the people are great. I love
Eddie Marsan
yes.
as Spyglass.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's great too. And I love James McAvoy. All these people, great cast. The cinematography is great. And of course, there's a huge 15-20 minute one shot there, at least simulated one shot, which is, it's all great.
Yeah.
I just think that ultimately for me, my big thing was I was kind of bored through a lot of it. I think I was very bored. And I think I can definitely get past, internal motivation for really cool stuff happening. You guys, between both of you, I could probably do that the best maybe because my standards are a little lower maybe. But
you enjoyed the Expendables.
Oh, you have no idea, audience. You have no fucking idea.
I was just trying to qualify it for the audience.
Yeah, there you go. That I know. But I don't know. There's something about it that either I don't know. I was losing interest, and I remember watching it going, oh yes, I remember now. I was also bored in the theater when I saw this. That was my thought.
Let me throw out a theory for you and see what you guys think about this.
Sure.
Both of you guys are expressing appreciation for John Wick's world building. John Wick is a comic book.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Absolutely.
And by the way, of
100%.
course, this is also based on
Yes.
a graphic novel, but it's set in the
John
real...
Wick's a comic book.
It's a comic book-y world.
It's a comic
Oh,
book
sure.
world,
Yes,
right?
sure.
With the hotel and all.
Yes.
I don't know if it's an actual comic book
I don't
or
think-
not,
I
but
don't think
with
it
the
is.
hotel...
It feels
and-
like it could be. It feels like it's a graphic novel.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's set in a fantasy world,
Yeah.
for sure.
right? With the coins and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
This movie's set in the real world. I mean,
Yes.
it is set in the Cold War, end of Cold War, Berlin. That's part of why I like it so much.
Yeah, I
because
love the
it's
setting.
not a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Not to say that it doesn't have, of course, any movies have a little bit of fantasy elements.
Of course.
But because it's set in the real world, I wonder if that's a generational thing. I wonder if you guys.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know
I
if it is or
also
not.
wondered,
but-
I would say it's not because like my bread and butter is the negotiator. You know what I'm saying? From
Right.
the fugitive. Like
Yeah.
that's right. A Few Good Men. Like when it comes to like action films, I tend to go back to the 90s and 80s where we're away from the fantasy stuff.
Well, I wondered, does the music really connect for you in this film?
Oh, absolutely.
See,
Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah.
that's a generational thing for sure.
See,
Yeah.
and my dad, I didn't know 90s music existed till 2000 because I was force fed 80s music as a child, and so like my first band I ever saw was Eddie Money and then Van Halen, and then that's what I grew up on.
Yeah,
And
but
so-
did you grow up on New Order and David Bowie?
Yeah,
and
these are kind of like
Depeche Mode
alternate rock
They
of
were
the time,
alternate.
right?
Now also,
I mean, because that was my music.
And I do not like 99 Left Balloons. I have never liked that song. My dad would be like, "Oh, the music video on VH1 Classic." I'm like, "God damn it, Dad! I don't want to watch 99 Left Balloons music video. I hate that music video." Sidebar for everybody.
Yeah, I think going off what you were saying about the fantasy world versus the real world, I think part of that probably is true to a bit. I do find the world of John Wick just more fun, and because it's over the top, because of the hotel and all this things that are fun, but it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of like fun in like the way the Pirates of the Caribbean one was fun, where it's
Right,
like
right.
none of this is even close to anything real, but it's so
But see,
fun.
Shut your mouth.
And that's go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say on the action part though, I do feel like it was predictable action. I feel like I knew a long one shot fight scene was coming. I just felt it. I knew it was coming at some point. And maybe that's just the genre is, we kind of got some new tricks at the beginning of the decade in action films with like your John Wicks and stuff. And maybe those new tricks are becoming old again kind of thing, where we're just kind of starting to see more tropes used.
I mean, not to disagree with even you or cut you off, but like that's not really been done a whole lot in feature films, like the one shot, especially with a female heroine.
I think of the Bourne movies. I think of John Wick's.
How many
that-
one shots are in the fucking Bourne movies?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
there's
what the
long
thing.
shot-
70
long
cuts in
shots.
1
I don't- yeah, I
second,
don't think
you know?
there's-
Or long fight scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's.
I mean, I can't think of too many one-shot fight scenes
Yeah, I'll give
like
that to
that
maybe.
fight scene. I mean, think about actually shooting that. I mean,
Oh,
No,
yeah.
and
part of as you watch it, they have to build in breaks for her to catch her breath because that is such an intense action scene
Yeah.
to shoot in one scene.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 shots. I mean,
is it?
the entire fight is one shot, and then when they win the fight and they go through sort of the hallway and it goes black, and then we have a cut, and then the shot continues
Yeah.
right.
out into the car and all the way through.
Yes.
I don't remember exactly where it cuts when they get hit or something.
Well,
Yeah.
is it when he runs in front of the car? The guy
she
fighting?
runs him over at one
No,
point.
she runs him over. It
And she
keeps
goes-
going. I mean, that
I
shot.
think
Yeah,
it cuts
okay,
whenever
yeah.
she
But it
looks
cuts
at him and
bef-
he's in the water. I think it's like the
it
last
cuts
cut.
before they
Does
hit
it?
the water, but
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it
can't
does.
remember exactly where.
I will say
Even
too that even that long, like I was
That's the
kind
best
of
part of the
bored
movie.
during that fight. Like towards the end, where they're both just like doing this heavy labored breathing and just kind of
I
both
think
throwing, and it was just kind of, it felt.
But see, that's where the world.
That's
why
okay.
I like the real world feel of that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with. I'm actually seeing.
Maybe that's
now
it. Maybe I
winning with
hate
Bruce
reality.
on this part. Like,
Maybe I just hate reality.
I like in a fight where you see the heroine or even the bad guy damaged. Like that you need to
I
feel
do too.
you need to feel like their every weight at the end of a fight is hard for them. Like or every punch is hard for them. You need to feel that. And Jackie Chan's a great example of that, of someone who gets hurt during these fights. And when they win, they feel like it's more of an accomplishment because
I think it just got to a point
They
of
got
melodrama for me, how much they labor. I don't know. To me, it just was like,
Well, it's funny that you bring up Jackie Chan because I think part of that, just like any one take, is the impressiveness of the filmmaking. That becomes part of your experience. So it's not just the narrative and the stakes for the characters, it's that you're appreciating like, holy shit, she has been literally running around fighting for 10 straight minutes and she probably is barely able to stand up.
I mean, a one real minute of fighting is exhausting. You know what I mean? Like 10 minutes, especially that kind of, it's like it's crazy.
in leggings and a lingerie. That's what she's wearing. I feel like she's wearing
fine.
lingerie. Yeah.
If anything, it helps her out.
No, yeah, sure.
She's wearing like
She's wearing
a sweater and pants and boots. I mean, she's completely dressed in those.
Yeah,
She
in
is.
that one take, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I had no problem with the action. I think the action's like the part where I kind of gravitate towards. I think it's just everything else. And I love frame stories where you're cutting back and forth and it's kind of like unreliable narrators and you're trying to piece it together. I think it's just, I don't know. I can't grasp yet why I'm just not enthralled by the movie. And I think I should be for everything that I love in movies. I should love the movie. And I haven't figured out yet. Still haven't why I'm not grabbed yet by it. I don't know.
Well, I want to make one more point about the action, and then let's jump into the structure a little bit. The other thing I was going to say about the action that I really like from a realistic point of view is how much of the fighting. There's one scene that I would call a little less realistic, and that's with the hose, which is a lot of fun, but
It is, but it also felt like that. Let's find something no one's fought with before.
yeah, there's a little bit of that.
A hose. You know?
But almost every fight scene, to me, one of the reasons I like them so much is because they feel realistic for a woman fighting larger men. Because,
that's important.
Yeah,
that's not.
sure.
She uses their weight against them.
Yeah, almost in any fight, whether it's two men or a man and a woman or two men, the bigger person will win 90% of the time. I mean, it's just close quarter combat.
Sure. Yeah.
And so
Or half the time if you're Bane.
right. So the way, exactly. So the way they have her fight, the way she uses the way she fights, it all feels very realistic. And also just some of the things like, if you notice how often her first move is to kick someone in the nuts.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah.
How often when someone walks through a hallway, the first thing she does after some sort of strike to the face is immediately grab for their gun. Like it just felt really thoughtful, well choreographed, very realistic fighting, which we don't get a whole lot in. Yeah. And John Wick would be sort of the opposite end of the spectrum.
He gets hit by a car going 90 miles per hour and struggles to his
I think
feet.
that's great. There's been this conversation in blockbuster action films or whatever the last 5-6 years of differentiating women fighting versus the male fighting because they get lumped into, they're all going to fight the same, but it's like that's not how it goes. And there's been a big conversation happening.
And
lately.
a lot of the times when you see women fighting, they have the same style, which is they jump onto some bar, they wrap their legs around the person's neck, and then they use their weight to pull them down.
Or they have heels on and they kick a lot.
And they kick a lot, yeah. And in this movie, she doesn't. And in fact, there is one fight scene where she's wearing heels, but a lot of times she's wearing these thigh-high boots that are flat. So even that is, I think, more of a nod to a realistic, even though she's wearing these sort of glamorous costumes, which I can't help it. I love them.
Yeah. The costumes but the fact that she's wearing
flat boots a lot. Yeah. I mean, it all just sort of contributes to that. So anyway.
I think
those are great points that I hadn't articulated, but I see them.
No, I agree with you, Bruce. I think I had issues with just like the entertainment value of the story and not so much the fight scenes. Like I can dig the fight scenes all day long, and I appreciate the filmmaking behind that stuff. Let's get into Act 1, guys.
Yeah.
Now we are 20 minutes in, so let's be aware we may not.
Yeah, I don't think we can do this level of detail.
Yes. And this one's a little easier to do because it's
a bit more straightforward. Obviously the end there's the twist.
It's
but
straightforward
even
in
the
a way.
twist to me is, okay. Well, I'm going to save the twist discussion for the twist.
Yeah, save it. All right, Bruce. Let's go for Act 1. What's the goal of Act 1 here?
I didn't give it acts, by the way. I
Okay, that's fine.
just said pure sequences.
Yeah, I totally
That's fine.
agree.
That's fine.
I totally agree.
And that's if you watch the John Wick movies, they also are basically that way.
Yes.
Basically
Yes.
sequences. So I had the movie as 9 sequences.
Okay.
Wow.
And
It's a lot less than I thought.
yeah, I did. Generally, if you have a sequence level movie, you're looking at 10 to 15 minutes per sequence.
Yeah.
So the first one is a little longer, which also is often the case when you have a sequence structure, that the first sequence, because it's setting everything up, might be close. So this one I think was closer to 15, and then all the rest of them were closer to 10. One of the things I think that makes this, and maybe this starts playing into some of your criticisms, is there aren't a lot of climaxes. Where you get to the end of a sequence and you clearly feel like a big thing has happened. It just kind of keeps
right.
moving.
It does.
Even when kind of the things that happen at the end of the movie that would typically be your climaxes.
There's one, but yeah.
Well, I
we'll
think
get into that. Yeah. And then the other thing I'll say, and we'll sort of go into it, you were talking about the whole sort of interrogation scene. I do think that, we can talk about the script as well. I think the interrogation scene really serves the purpose of helping the audience understand what the hell's going on in the movie.
Yeah, of course.
There are a lot of
I agree.
moments where we don't even cut fully to the end. We just get a shot of Charlize for 5 seconds where she tells us something that helps us know what the goal is for the next sequence. Because otherwise it all starts to blend together.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a valid criticism of the movie.
And one thing I was thinking, sorry, Daniel, I was thinking is that, especially with spy movies and movies that involve, Cold War and different types of nationalities and different and kind of complex names where it's hard for us it's hard to kind of grasp sometimes, like who's who and who's what. That definitely is, I think, there to kind of help people like me or the general movie audiences with that kind of stuff. 100%.
I hear what you're saying, Bruce, but at the same time, to me, that feels like for me, that's a negative a little bit, because it feels like you had to pop out and tell us.
Oh yeah, I agree.
What
That's
you
what I was
couldn't
saying.
show
I
us.
think
Okay.
I said that's a completely valid criticism.
Yeah, and I think on top, what doubled down on that negative for me was that the dialogue and the way they did it just felt like so. Of course, you did it. Like I feel like I've seen it done that way. The sexily puff on a cigarette and give a coded, it was the thing, I would have worn a different dress or whatever she says, and it's like,
I'm fine with that stuff.
yeah, but I don't know, to me it just was cheesy. I felt like I've heard this dialogue before, I've seen this kind of thing before, this kind of trying to be cheeky, but we all know kind of what's coming anyway. I don't know, to me that scene, and honestly, even in context with the twist at the end, even makes maybe less sense to me. Well, we can get into the twist, and because I have some big questions about the logic of the twist and things like that. But yeah, that's a good point.
So anyway, yeah. So the first sequence basically got the goal is to kind of get the mission.
Right.
There's a lot of exposition there.
The list.
We get the credits. We get.
A very long credit sequence.
I had this thought in my head. I was like, oh, long credit sequences. I was like, I love those. And I was like, man. And then I kept watching. I was like, just fucking move on already. And I was like, I'm the worst though, because my movie has long credits.
The spray paint effect, and this is like the visual kind of graphics. I was like, they really like phoned it in on the spray paint because it just goes and then it's just a font. Nothing is animated about the spray paint. It's just like revealing on a spray paint font. And I was like, oh, that's the lazy ass way.
Well, fun fact for you. The worst thing about the John Wick trilogy is their stupid fucking fonts when they're doing subtitles. Like that, every time I see it, it pulls me out of my every time. And that's infinitely worse than
take a look again.
That's infinitely worse than Atomic Blonde spray paint stuff. Like that's my only criticism of John Wick.
It's a fine art style. Just do it right. Follow through.
Yeah, John Wick can take a page from them for that one.
Open up After Effects. Google a tutorial. Come on.
And Vato.
And we do have a pretty complex timeline here in the sense that we've got.
Yes, that's why it's hard to kind of
we've got the interrogation, and then we flash back to the same group of people with C, and I think the guy's name is Eric, who are when she first gets the mission, and then we're going to Berlin to see what's going on with Percival, and Spyglass. So basically, I set the end of that as Percival goes and
picks her up.
Well, before that. So Percival is in East Berlin, and the police come and,
At the party.
Oh
and
He's a
discovers
Spyglass.
that Gascoigne is dead, and that he's going to have to take Spyglass, and that Spyglass has memorized the list, right?
Right.
So I would call that sort of the end of the first sequence, because then right at the beginning of the second sequence, Lorraine is on the plane to Berlin.
Yeah,
which
sure.
is going to launch us into the second one.
Gotcha. If you guys hear some sweet ass thunder and rain, that's the mood that we threw out there for you.
Yeah, that's an effect.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Daniel's just hitting a little button on his computer.
And if the power goes off, also an effect.
Yep.
If the episode abruptly ends, that's an effect.
If it happens, make sure you subscribe to our
If
channel.
all the lights go out, it's just because these guys always have.
That does
problems with
happen.
it.
So we have
That's
fixed
true.
it. We're wired now.
We are wired. It's actually really sexy if you go back and watch the YouTube videos when it happens.
I did
We're
watch the
very
YouTube
We're
video.
very
Yeah.
silhouetted.
It goes off and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it. I like
low
it.
key lighting.
Yeah.
Or high key.
Who was playing footsies in the dark there?
Oh.
Anyway, so the first sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't mind. I enjoy most of this kind of stuff because you're introducing yourself to these characters, and I love James McAvoy, and I say that's why it's so weird to me. I love spy movies, and I'm a sucker for even the hardcore spy movies like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, where there's it is dry as fuck almost, but it's that's fascinating to me.
But to me, there wasn't a lot of spy stuff in this. There's no coded messages, other than the watches.
There's a little bit, but yeah.
Watchmaker and the watches is the most spy-y part of it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's very small.
Yeah, but when I say spy, I mean it is spy stuff. I mean realistic spy where it's kind of. I mean, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is basically the best example of all time. But
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
It's a good sequence. I think it is. It's a rut. I think I did feel like a bit of a rush as far as we're all over the place now. We've cut from here to here. Now we're here. Now we're here. And I think they want you to be a little confused.
Yeah,
probably.
It's
especially
very frenetic. At the start.
But I felt like I was a little more confused than they intended me to be.
I can understand that.
If that makes sense.
I will say, this is a movie that probably rewards repeat viewings.
I agree.
I can see
and
that.
of course, we could have a whole other debate on should a movie be completely understandable in one viewing?
Sure.
Does that mean it's not telling its story well enough, or is there something to be said for you watch it a second time and you figure out all the stuff you didn't pick up the first time?
Right.
And that can be rewarding. So we'll just acknowledge that. Yes, I think if you watch it a second or third time, you pick up on a bunch of things you didn't on the first viewing.
I saw it when in theaters, and I forgot. I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what happens, but I don't remember. And so I was trying to also piece it together again as we're going through it. No, it's interesting. So sequence 1. So we have 10 sequences, and what's the start of sequence 2 then?
9 sequences.
9 sequences. Sorry.
So sequence 2 starts with Lorraine on the way to Berlin.
Yes.
I would say her goal again, and maybe part of the problem that some of you guys feel is the goals don't always feel
Urgent.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So
There's
the
very little
second
urgency,
goal is for Lorraine to stay in Berlin.
Right.
Which doesn't feel like some big deal, but she has to
Get the lay of the land. And,
Well, and Percival says they're just if the body's the excuse, they're just going to send you back home. So then she goes, and then she's done this clever thing where she's messed up the numbers from the passport so that they have to go do an investigation. So she gets to stay longer, and then we sort of climax with Percival breaking into her hotel and then going, "Oh, you're really clever. You managed to do all this kind of stuff, right? And now you're going to stay."
Yeah. Daniel?
I think at this point in the movie when I was watching, I was like, what the fuck is up with this Percival guy? Is he a good guy? Is he working for the same organization as her? Because I thought he was, but now I'm not sure. And you know what I mean? It was like, I don't know. I don't know if she trusts him or if,
I thought from the moment the movie opened that she didn't trust nobody.
Well, I could tell he was,
but
it was like, but should she trust him? Is he trying to help her. Or is
And see, that's part of why I like the movie a lot, is because you can't really get a handle on anybody, right? You know, in terms of, are they a good guy? Are they a bad guy? Should we be rooting for them? Even at the end, you know, we're not sure exactly how we feel about
until like the last
Lorraine.
few shots.
Exactly, until the last few shots. So yeah, everybody's, and I think that's part of the point, you know, and this running theme they have about kind of Berlin and being a spy, and you know how dangerous and weird Berlin is that you've got all these people with all these different agendas, and you know, even as you're watching, you're not really sure who's good, who's not, you know.
One thing to think about it being interesting is just if that's how we were feeling watching the movie, can you imagine how they're feeling actually doing that in real life back then? Like, you can imagine how fucking paranoid they were back then.
Well, and I hear that point. I think that is it's a part of my issue of feeling like I can't align or connect with any character because I just don't really know them. Right. And like that's part of the like, I'm wanting to get attached to a character so I can kind of ride with them through this journey, but I'm not sure who I should really. I mean, it doesn't feel like I'm getting enough from Lorraine to know what to attach myself to, what exactly she's going to be doing or how she's going to do it. And then, Percival, I kind of, he was like, oh, this is going to be that troublemaker guy that's probably doing he's either playing both sides or he's doing it the right way but dirty, or you know, he was kind of like that character.
To their credit, one thing, like, you know, we'll get to this, you know, like there's some movies that come out or trailers that drop and I'm like, already I know, like, well, I know exactly what happens, or I know this riddle X, Y, and Z. And to their credit, at least it keeps you guessing and you're trying to figure it out. And I'm not sure it's a good thing or a bad thing, but at least you're, you know, like what you said, you're trying to figure it out as you go to the whole movie, versus, you know, like someone like me, like example when Knives Out comes out, different movie, different type of movie, but I'm sitting there like, oh, I figured it out, I've got it. And this one kind of always keeps you at least checked, you know, like, well, I thought I had it, but now I don't anymore. And maybe it's part of it too, because I want to almost feel like I solved it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it might have took a little bit of that away from me.
Well, there was no way to solve this one, probably.
Sure.
The twist at the twisty twist.
Well, certainly the second twist, but you know, even, and we're going to talk about it with the next sequence with the introduction of the Satchel character, right? I think one of the cool things is like, even as you start seeing things and certain things are happening, you still can't, like, there's a perfect case to be made for either Lorraine or Percival to be Satchel, you know, and they sort of end up sort of continually accusing. I mean, they don't directly, but like you can tell he's thinking she's trying to clearly set him up as Satchel. And things happen and it's like, oh, well, that could make him Satchel. Oh, well, that could make her Satchel. And you can't ever really figure it out, which, like you said, it keeps you guessing. But maybe you don't get the satisfaction of the solution. You know,
I don't. I don't think that is.
I want to feel smart when I watch my movies.
Right.
I want movies to inflate my ego. Right.
There you go.
There is a very. I think you're right. There is a very strong sense when we always say like, oh, well, you shouldn't be. You know, the audience shouldn't know what's going to happen. But sometimes when the audience feels like they figured it out before the movie reveals it, you feel good.
Yeah, there's that classic.
You feel a part of it.
And the same with humor, right? Sometimes if you predict a joke, it's actually funnier to you because you're like, oh yeah, I came up with that joke.
Well, it kind of introduces some interactivity into the film viewing.
Well, there's even
process.
that classic, you know, like you lean over and go, I know who killed her. You know, like there's that movie, like you feel good.
I love doing that to my wife. Love it.
You know,
and she's like, damn it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly. No, I see that. Yeah, I get that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Into sequence. Where did you have sequence 2 ending?
So I have sequence 2 ending around 26 minutes, which is when Percival comes into the hotel. He's broken into her hotel, and she's kind of impressed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And she sits on him for the entire scene.
Yeah, we have that wonderful sexual tension that is like, oh, the girl's gonna interrogate the guy while being on top.
Yeah.
Which again, I was like, I feel like I've seen this. I don't know.
Yeah, but then it never goes anywhere.
It doesn't.
Right?
No.
Which I never thought it would.
Yeah,
I never thought it would. I never thought she's actually into him ever.
She has, you know, Charlize is kind of in a good way for the character. She's really hard to read, but she has a lot of vulnerability in moments.
Right. Yeah.
And then I feel like his character is much easier to read. At least he gives the impression that he's he's easier to read.
Right.
McAvoy presents this complex character, but then in the end, he becomes very simple. I felt like he presents this like, oh, I'm complicated. I'm a gray area.
Right.
But in the end, he's like, well, not really. While Charlize, total gray area.
Right.
To me, at the end, I'm like, I don't know about the morality of what you've done here.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, so sequence 3 then.
So sequence 3, this is an interesting one too, because this is another one where the goal almost becomes justified a little bit after the fact, or at least partway through it. So, the big setup in most of the sequence is about Lorraine going to Gascoigne's apartment to try to get more information.
And the cops come.
And the cops come, and we have
Percival,
the hose fight, right?
Yeah.
We have a great fight scene there. And we get the introduction of Satchel. And so initially the thing is like, well, why is she going to Gascoigne's apartment? Everyone's been there. There's nothing new. And then she explains in the interrogation room, oh, well, you also told me this Satchel thing. And so I needed to be looking for information on that as well. And she gets the clue.
But why would
the two of them in the picture together, Gascoigne and Percival?
Yes. Which is really a throw for us.
Yeah.
It's her looking at that is you're thinking, oh, she's learning information about Satchel. And in fact, it's really just, it's just there really for us to.
Right.
But see, to me, here's where I'm like, where's my logic brain's hurting here at this point. Because we get that flashback where she's given the Satchel orders. So why does she need to do the passport thing? To stay there longer. Because obviously we didn't know at that point that she actually had more orders and that they wanted her there. This wasn't routine.
Because the Germans will kick her out. She has to have she's a spy, but she has to have a civilian reason to be in Germany. Okay. And it's to get the body. And that's the cover story, right?
Okay,
the cover story is to get the body.
Right.
And so she then has to find a way to extend her stay to do these other...
Right.
Yeah, to get the list and to...
Right. Makes sense.
Research Satchel. Yeah.
And now, this is honestly, I'm a little bit... So she finds the picture of them together. Mm-hmm. Why does that indicate that he's Satchel?
It happens really quickly, but...
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Percival seems to have lied to her and
about being friends.
Because
we know that.
Because she mentioned in the interrogation.
Is it just that, he lied about this. What else is he lying about? Is it that?
Well, and it doesn't really, it's not like by the end of this sequence, she may have decided he's Satchel, because obviously we're going to get to the twist. But at least for us as the audience, it's the first thing where we're getting suspicious.
Question.
He's not telling the full truth.
Gotcha.
What does that mean or not mean?
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I just didn't know, because I was like, is there supposed to be like a deeper? I was like, did I miss something about Gascoigne having met Satchel in the intel or something? So they thought, he's close to Satchel. I don't know. Yeah. I also at first I was like, is this going to turn into a relationship thing of like, he never told me about you, because they're dating, and that is something. It doesn't feel like their relationship ever had any other relevance to the story except the setup.
No, and in fact, by the end of the story, we might question their relationship altogether.
Yeah. That's true. No, I didn't even think about that. Maybe it was just a ruse. Yeah.
She does tell, what's her name, the French spy. She tells her, operatives that was just a ruse. Maybe that one wasn't a little bit. Maybe it was. Maybe it's a little bit more than, I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. I keep doing that. I'm sorry, audience. You can't hear me.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I do want to take a pause here if you read the script, to point out how truly bland and boring the script is.
Yeah,
the script
I agree.
is. And I hate to call people out, but the script is not excitingly written.
Very
and
generic.
Also, when it comes to there's so much less action in the script than there is in the movie. The structure of the script is like all the stuff at the beginning has been changed around.
This felt like a script I would have read when I was in LA doing coverage. And I probably might have passed on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just kind of, to
me, it's a very bland
generic.
Script.
It's just rehashing things we've said or done or seen, and
which gets me to wonder, if they whenever we have the director of John Wick, and then he's like, hey, I'm going to pitch you the visual style and the music and the cinematography and that kind of stuff, and that's how he got her on. You know, I wonder.
Well, I haven't read the Coldest City, which is the graphic novel that it's based on.
True,
so
yeah.
it's possible that we already had the graphic novel that was mostly telling the story, and it was sort of like, let's just get this into script form to move forward. But it does feel like the script could have been like
more exciting.
I guess what I'm saying is, I'm guessing that in the writing of the script didn't have anything to do with convincing any of the people to get on board with the movie.
I assume it was getting John Wick's co-director.
I'm sure it's
my
part of it.
is they said, we've got the script. We think we can kind of make it have a John Wick vibe, but with Charlize, and that's.
I mean, Charlize may have been like, "Hey, I want a cool action vehicle."
That's true. I mean, that she could have been like, "Hey, find me a script that I can."
But every action setup ends in like 2 beats.
Yeah,
sure.
She goes to Gascoigne's. The police show up. She has like throws a couple of punches and then leaves.
Now, also to be fair,
same later on. Like,
that's
if it
a
was
very
me,
common
I might be
thing,
saying, I know the stunt coordinator is going to direct this and write this anyway, so I'm going to throw some generic action beats in there and know that that'll be built out later.
That's a very common thing in a lot of Hollywood. I don't like to do that because I personally want to visually.
Well, you're
want
good at writing action
Well,
too.
when you guys read my scripts, like I want you guys to be like, this is cool.
Yeah.
You know, and like now
exactly. And there clearly didn't seem to be a need for the script.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
have that.
Well, also,
reaction.
I believe David Leitch was him and the other guy. I can't think of his name. I think they used to be second unit directors for action stuff. So they were probably like, we'll figure that out.
It's Chad.
Chad Stahelski or something weird like that.
I can't remember his last name.
I'll look it up real quick. No, I mean, everyone's different. I mean, there was, I don't know.
But I bring it up because it's interesting that the satchel thing does not get mentioned until sequence 3, about 30 minutes in. In the script, it's part of the exposition in the first meeting on page 8 or 9 or whatever.
I wonder if they were thinking, well, we need, I mean, because, and to be fair, the plot really doesn't start get going until then. I mean, as far as like us actually knowing a sense of what's going on and what characters are actually trying to do.
I think from here on out, the sequences start to feel a little more motivated than the second and third sequences do.
Well, they actually have goals we understand of she's going here to do this or he's going here to do that versus... Well, she's hanging out in her hotel.
Yeah.
And she's, you know what I mean?
It is,
which I love, by the way. I love all that stuff just because I
it's
love
beautiful and
it's another one of those where I just like being in that world.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
I mean,
I understand that.
Yeah, she's not bad to look at either. So it's it helps. You know what I'm saying? She's a very pretty woman, and it's not the worst thing in the world.
She's very pretty in neon too.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, the costumes, especially for the female characters, but even for some of the male characters, if you like that grungy look of James McAvoy, you've got the male eye candy as well.
It's true. I mean, he looks, I love James McAvoy. Yeah, I do say, and I'm sure you guys noted it too, but the only person she actually had an issue with fighting is the other blonde guy. Like her big long, the character that she actually has the most trouble killing, is the only other blonde
character. That's interesting. Yeah,
and he has that kind of same bleach blonde, short, but he's literally the only other blonde character in the movie.
That's interesting.
Must mean something.
And he's the one that could actually.
Good call. Yeah.
He actually almost got her.
Yeah.
Title is Atomic Blonde. So maybe there's a big larger statements on blondes.
The second one will be Atomic Blondes.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
I wrote it. I just did it.
That's it. That's we did it.
No, the next one's we're gonna figure out, there's actually this blonde network of spies.
Actually, it's gonna be Atomic Blonde versus Legally Blonde.
And
then they're gonna get
there you go.
Reese Witherspoon. And
I'm in for that movie.
Actually, I think they're doing a new version of Legally Blonde.
I'm sure they are.
I heard they're doing a third one. There's a Broadway show, Legally Blonde.
Yeah, it's been a while, but
I think it's a new movie. So anyway,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I like Legally Blonde 1
I do too.
and 2. Everyone,
so they're great movies. They're fun.
They are good
chick flicks.
Yeah,
they are. Yeah, they're kind of in that golden era.
I'm glad we can all bond over Legally Blonde.
Oh yeah.
So sequence 3 ends.
Sequence 3 ends.
We could probably start kind of hitting like larger, since we're getting more goal focused here.
Yeah.
Because we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, so basically it just ends with Percival saying that the Russian dude who got the list at the beginning
Yes.
hasn't sold it. And
Right.
so that motivates the fourth sequence, which is just she says, I needed to find out what the Russians knew. So
Yeah.
she goes to
the
that
bar. Yeah.
and then she goes into East Berlin and has to evade the Russians again in order to meet with her contact.
Right.
And we've got this great thing with Stalker.
Yes.
Which was another. What was the movie in the script? It was a completely different movie.
I don't recall.
Much cheesier, by the way.
I was wondering like why they picked Stalker in the movie.
Presumably because it would have been an East German
Almost-
movie that would have been
almost,
showing. In
That's
East
what I was
Germany.
wondering. I almost looked it up while I was watching the movie because I was like, I wonder if this has like some type of like,
German connection.
hidden, not even that, just hidden like subtext or something. That's what I was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
wondering.
So Cry Freedom.
I don't even know what that
I have
is.
no idea what that
Denzel
is.
Washington's about South Africa and apartheid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, was originally the movie.
Okay.
Maybe Stalker is more, spies, stalking things.
I mean, it's more, Stalker's much more in line with the theme of the movie.
It's a great sequence though. Whenever I love the colors of the blues and just the basically like the rain and whatever's happening on the screen, and that's a cool fight scene.
Yeah, it's a fun fight scene. There is a little bit of spycraft in there too, where she's changing her clothes.
That's true.
And putting on different wigs. And
Yeah, that's
grabbing
true.
Things off of racks and all that kind of stuff. And then we have again that fun fight scene. And then I think that sequence ends with her on the roof and sort of making that contact. And
Right.
Right. Yeah. Ben Skarsgård. Is that
Yes.
Bill Skarsgård's little brother? I'm assuming.
yeah, it's one of the scars. There's a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
scars.
There's a lot
He's
of
younger than Bill,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming younger brother.
There is a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so that gets
Which
us-
I also was thinking that guy's gonna be a bad guy, but he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
But I was sure. Oh,
Yeah.
he looks too innocent.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like the big bad in the end or something. I don't know. I was,
And that character is totally different in the script in terms of what purpose he serves, and he's the contact, but he doesn't really. She's like, hey, if you hear anything about the list, let me know. And he's
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't
okay,
do
and then he
anything.
sort of shows up later.
right.
He has a much bigger and
Which, if you're gonna
Part
have him in the movie, you
Yeah.
need to have him more in there
Yeah.
at that
Yeah, of
point.
course.
It makes more sense the way they did it in the film.
all right, so sequence 5, yeah, I mean, it's in the movie is really sort of taking off.
Yeah, it's picking up a little bit.
As we go. Sequence 5 goal is kind of interesting because it's speeding up, but her goal basically seems to develop a relationship with Delphine,
Right.
Yeah.
which again halfway through she tells in the interrogation room, oh well, I was trying to see what information I could get out of her,
But that seems like a lie, and given the context of how they cut that.
yeah, and it does seem like she does have an interest,
Some type of interest.
kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's also interesting is I can't think of his name. The guy who Delphine saves, who ends up being a huge part of the movie. Delphine saves Charlie's or Lorraine from the bar. Whenever
Oh,
Delphine
the
first
KGB guy.
the KGB guy.
Romanov or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
it's interesting. I wonder. Maybe I need to go back and look at that scene. when
Bremovich,
It was an
by the way,
interesting
is-
scene
he
because
talks to her and with the context of what happens at the end, I guess. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, because I wasn't quite. She's like, she was going there for information, right? But I never felt like she was actually trying to get information from anyone, unless she was really actually going there to meet Delphine. But then that doesn't pay off in any way, so that doesn't make sense.
I think she's going there. In the script, it's actually a little more explained, which is when she gets in the car at the beginning and they give her a card, the little business card
Right.
for a place to go. That's the bar she goes to in the script. In the movie, it doesn't seem like it's the same place because they say it's a coffee shop. When
Right.
They give the card, but then she goes
You're
to
right.
clearly a club bar kind of place.
Yeah.
But somehow she also seems to know that Bremovich will be there, so maybe it is the card. That's definitely a loose thread that they did not.
Yeah, and it just doesn't seem like she
Went very
actually
well.
tries to do anything with him. It doesn't seem like she's that interested in trying to get information
Well,
out of him.
it comes across like she doesn't really know him, of course. But then you wonder why that's.
But
why
you
is-
know he's. I mean, especially by the end, we know that that's just.
That's what I'm
I guess
saying.
if you take the twist at the end in context, it plays as they were just putting on a show for people. But in the moment, it doesn't make as much sense.
I think in the moment, to me, the way I take it is she's trying to get she's trying to figure out what the Russians do or don't know about what happened to the list, right? because we know this guy Bakhtin is Russian. He's got the list. He was supposed to fly to Moscow to turn it in. He didn't. Where's the list, right? That's her perspective.
So she's trying to make sure the Russians don't have it.
I think that's what she's wondering. And even though it's a pretty subtle scene, I think part of what we get from that is his interest in her probably indicates that he doesn't know where the list is either.
But in reality, she knows that because they're working together.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's why I'm confused. I guess it feels like more.
So at that point, it's a show.
Is it more of a movie show or is it more of?
I think so. I think that's one of those things when we go back and look at it, when we know
The twist.
the twist that doesn't
starts breaking
quite
apart a
hold
little
up,
bit. Okay,
right?
yeah. That was-
I would agree with
Okay.
that. Unless, I'll have to think about it some more, but yes.
Yeah,
that's-
it's one of those scenes where there's like, it feels like it's pure subtext. It feels like
Right.
none of the words that are said mean anything, but there's things happening that mean something at that scene. So I was kind of like, am I missing some kind of like look, or is there something happening in the background that it's actually the important thing? Anyway,
It may, and the movie never justifies it. I mean, one possibility is really it's just she's checking in with Bremovich to sort of let him know that she's
They're
there
using
and
code
things are
language.
okay. Yeah.
But I think there's a few things that the twist doesn't hold up after the twist. But we can get to that in a second.
So sequence 5 is mostly about meeting Delphine, but we also have kind of the key major point, which is almost like a midpoint as well, which is Percival kills Bakhtin and gets the list.
Right.
And I guess we probably need to give the spoiler now for the movie, which is that at that point, even though we don't know it yet, Percival knows that Lorraine is Satchel.
Once he gets it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because he gets the watch off of Bakhtin. This is halfway through the movie.
Right.
He doesn't reveal it. We don't know, but
Yeah.
But in retrospect, we know that this is when he discovers that.
Yes.
Which
And
the line later comes up, "You've been a very bad girl," which kind of
Right.
right there should be tipping the audience off, like, "Oh, this should be Satchel."
Yeah.
I do want to say real quick, I think the list is a bad MacGuffin.
Why?
Because why
classic-
does it exist? Who
That's a classic
made a list
spy
of
movie.
both sides of this? Who's well enough informed to know every spy on each side and what their actual names are and all that kind of
People
stuff?
up here, the people above us. That's a very normal thing in
It
movies.
is, but it's also like when you
a
think
very
about it, it's
real
like-
thing in movies. It's in real life.
But who
too.
does that? Well, a list that says like all the Russian spies in America, sure. There was never a list that said here's all the Russian spies on this side of the paper. Here's all the American
I don't
spies on
think
this
it's
side.
I don't
of the
think it's a
paper.
large leap to say that someone had a list and someone had a list and someone. I mean, they did. They're like, it ain't like one side made that watch. I mean, it's not like there's a list made and then someone made a watch with the list. You know what I'm saying? Like
I
that
know.
wasn't.
To me, it just
that's
felt-
that's not an issue, Daniel.
I'll actually agree with Daniel a little bit on
I thought it
this
was
one.
dumb. Yeah.
It is a classic MacGuffin. It's also a slightly potentially overused MacGuffin. You mentioned
Yes.
Mission Impossible. They
Yes.
have the knock list in some of those movies, which is basically the same thing.
I feel like there is a list type thing on a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
the list of everyone on our team,
a-
and if
and-
it
and the
falls
big
into the
thing-
wrong hands,
I think the biggest criticism of the movie for me, and one of you guys mentioned it earlier, is it's not quite clear to me how this connects to what's going to happen with the Cold War.
True. Yeah. What
And
does this
the
have to do with the
Berlin
Berlin
Wall.
Wall?
Yeah.
Are they afraid that if the list is found out, the Berlin Wall won't come down?
I mean,
I don't know. And
That feels like what's
yes.
implied in the beginning, because it feels like the Berlin Wall is like a countdown clock. To me,
feel
it felt like, oh, we've got to get this done before the Berlin Wall comes down.
I never really felt that. I mean, for me personally, I think just because the Berlin Wall comes down doesn't mean the war ends. I mean, that's just it does.
Well, that's symbolically
and
right.
it
The war-
also didn't. You know, I mean, like.
But historically, that's like the kind of symbolic end of the Cold War.
Yeah.
People look at that and say that's when the Cold War
It is.
officially ended.
It is, but it didn't end. So I mean, like it's still happening.
But
It's
that's
still
today.
happening now,
Yeah,
but
that's
we
what I'm
didn't know
saying.
that then.
That's
We
what
didn't
I'm
know
saying.
that in the 90s.
and I feel like the
but
movie is
yeah.
working on that presumption.
Yeah, but you have to. I mean, man, I could be just stretching it, but you have to think those characters also know that. Oh, just because this wall's coming down doesn't mean our lives are changing.
I
You know
think
what I mean?
Charlize planned on a vacation no matter what happened.
I still love the movie, but I wish they'd connected the list
Yes.
to the Berlin
Agreed.
Wall or the Cold War just a little bit more.
It'd been great.
Yeah, the
It-
KGB just felt like bad guys. It didn't matter that they were KGB. They could have just been Berlin street gangs.
And if
it
it
wouldn't have really
was,
changed.
if it was tied to
Other
like
than the end.
a
Okay.
ticking clock, it would have been even more pronounced because it was inside of a watch, you know. So it'd
go.
been even
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Oh
even
man,
worse.
they could have. Yep.
Anyway,
So the climax of this sequence is, for me, is John Goodman threatening to kill Delphine if Lorraine doesn't
Right.
make progress, and that kind of sparks her to start moving a little bit faster.
calls him a cocksucker.
Yeah. So scene
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
And this is where I think a lot of the fun is happening. Scene 6, goal prepare the mission to bring Spyglass across the border.
Yeah. Well, we're getting clear goals now. We're understanding there's a point A and point B,
Right.
and they're going
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's a fun. That's a fun sequence. I mean,
And
it's a
now
fun
the
action sequence.
And now the MacGuffin is a human, so it's even more like, you know, this MacGuffin die or something happens to this MacGuffin, then it's even.
No, I was a
worse,
little
you know?
confused about. Are they at that point just saying fuck the list? We have the human list.
I think we need both. I think it's, you know, I don't know.
Or is it like contingency? Like we want to make sure all the lists are taken care of? Or why didn't they say, please write it down?
Yeah, this is where the MacGuffin gets kind of confusing, to be honest. You know, I think that that's what's unclear. Like, do they want to have the list because they want to see what's on the list, or do they want the list to keep the list from falling into the wrong hands? Because if they want to keep it from falling in the wrong hands, they might be willing to kill
Right.
Spyglass as well.
Yeah.
But they're willing to rescue him, not knowing where the other copy of the list is.
But wouldn't it be safer
mean,
if their goal was to just not have the list exist?
Yeah, but-
Killing him would still be the better option.
Yeah, but typically you want to, especially if a human, you want to, before you kill them, you want to know who they've told,
Who they
they've
know,
talked to.
and- yeah.
That's
Sure.
That's
You want to
classic.
know if they told anyone.
Sure. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you got to interrogate him, then you can kill him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should be.
I just don't know why they couldn't do that in East Berlin or wherever they were at that
Because it
point.
would have. Yeah, I don't know. It would have been interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, there seem to be plenty of dark, abandoned buildings in that world. They could have found one.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool here is we really start getting the back and forth, the chess game between Percival and Lorraine, right?
Which
Because-
was confusing to me because I'm like, I thought they were on the same team, but I to me, I had picked up that Percival had the list and he found something interesting. To me, it still wasn't clear that he necessarily to me, it was almost like I was more thinking he is still the package or the what's the
Satchel.
word? The satchel, just because we spent so much time with Lorraine, then we spent less time with him.
Well,
So it was just
exactly.
more like,
That's-
I see him less. I see her more.
So when he gets it and we realize that he's found something in it, maybe what he's found is, you know, that he's Satchel and now he's got the list. So you know, he's okay with that.
Or honestly, what I assumed was one of the people above her was Satchel. One of the people in the about this point in the movie, my thought was one of the people in the interrogation room is Satchel, and she's going to kill that one at the end of the movie.
But see, to me, this is the strength of the movie, right? Because we're now almost 2/3 of the way through the movie, and you don't really know who Satchel is.
And I agree with you. When I first saw it in theaters, I was thinking she's in there because she's going to kill one of the people.
It was either that or the guy behind the glass was going to be Satchel. Yeah, C.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's true, but I guess in that context, the chess game, I was like, who's playing who? Why are they playing the? I understood. She's just trying to get Spyglass. She's just trying to follow the mission. It was him I less understood.
But see, it's always they don't trust each other. You know, they're two spies who don't trust each
Fair.
other.
That was clear.
But they are supposed to have a shared mission, right? And so
But it never felt like they did.
as things are happening in this, but they're both trying to get the list.
Sure.
They're not always working together, but they're both trying to get the list.
And maybe that's where it is that even when we were supposed to be assuming they were on the same team, it never felt like they were on the same team. Like in the beginning of the movie, when we're presuming they're all trying to do the same thing, it never felt like they liked each other or were going to help each other. So when we got to the chess match, it kind of just felt like we were still doing that a little
See,
bit.
I was okay with that because to me, like that's
classic, especially
spy
if
stuff. Exactly. Yeah. That even the people who are on your team, you don't trust. And so you have to figure out how much to trust them and how much not to trust them. And you kind of work with them.
But if you
you're kinda
find
doing
a
your own
hot
thing,
French spy,
and- yeah.
but if you find a hot French spy,
also classic
hot young
spy
French
stuff.
spies are
Yeah.
total. You know,
Well, I mean,
They're
that's
immune to
just
that rule.
that's every even on the buddy cop side of movies when they're actually 100% on the same side. They're they're always clashing, and also even bigger thing is like look at FBI versus police. I mean, like there's always this tension there, and they're different sectors. It's even ramped up even more so when you have different nationalities, especially spy stuff. It's just 100%. No one you deal with everybody, but no one ever trusts anybody. Yeah.
But yeah, so when Percival he calls her up, right? So they plan this. They go to this club or whatever, and they have this conversation. And first of all, he tells her that she's got the list, or that Spyglass has the list memorized.
Yeah.
By the way, I love when she's like, "Wait a second, I thought you didn't know Spyglass."
He's like,
the way he does it, the way he delivers that is great.
Yeah,
I love James McAvoy's delivery. He just has that shit-eating grin. I lied, He's
I do like
he's proud
that.
of it.
Yeah.
But when he convinces her to save Spyglass, I mean, that's what's really cool is it's a setup. Like at that moment, he is setting her up. That's where he's putting his plan in motion to get rid of her, right? By having the KGB take her out.
Right.
Which he's doing with good intentions.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But we don't really
know that till the end.
And he's still not a great guy, even if he has good intentions. But yeah, in some ways,
he's right.
right. He's right, and he knows that she's Satchel, and
Right.
she's betraying people, and he's trying to take her out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
God
this is
damn
where
it.
it's fun. This is where I really love it. So we've got this set up. And then
I feel like I need to watch this again now. I don't know. I feel like I need to watch it one more time.
Well, I mean,
and then
that's a good thing.
And then the
It
climax
is.
of the sequence is Percival brings in the family.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, we think we're all prepared. We're ready to go. Oh, wait, we've got to rescue some more people. Right. Which throws a wrench into it. And then that launches us into the 7th sequence, which is actually getting Spyglass across the border.
Right.
Safely.
Which
By the way, is the first failure that she runs into because they fail.
Yeah. That's the big one shot. That's the big.
Yes.
The big.
And then the big
scene.
fight in the
The big fight with the other blonde
apartment
guy.
building. Yeah.
The only other blonde guy.
Well, from that point, I guess. I mean, that's really that's the whole thing. She failed. It's a big fight scene. They fail, and after that point, we're back into the interrogation scene, and it's kind of like the mission's been done.
Well,
now,
we're kind of almost current at this point.
Yeah,
The
almost, yeah.
Well, no,
Right.
but no.
Well, they tell her, don't
Well, because after that, Percival. Well, I guess the next sequence would be Percival killing Delphine.
Yeah.
And
so,
then
so
her
by the
killing
way,
Percival.
we see Percival kill Spyglass.
Yes.
Right.
So we do have some interesting things going on here in terms of we still can't figure out
What the hell
who's
he's doing?
good,
Yeah.
who's bad, But yeah, so then we get to sequence 7 is pretty easy, because it's so much just that big fight sequence
Right.
almost
Right.
entirely. So sequence 8, again, we're now getting to where the movie level goal kind of matches sort of later goals, which is now she's got to get the list, right?
Yeah.
She actually has to get the list.
And with this sequence, like for example, I don't think Delphine's death felt that impactful. I felt like we kind of left it quick. Like we do have her moment where she's crying, but again, it just felt like we were so close to the end and the climax, and we still know she had somewhere else to go
You
and
mean
do.
you mean Lorraine's reaction to
Yes,
that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The death itself is.
It's visceral.
It's pretty. It's one of the more violent scenes.
Yeah.
It
and
is.
It's weird to
I mean,
say it, but just because it's
You just kinda
this
sit there
attack
with-
on a more vulnerable woman, even though she has a gun she can't get to. But yeah, I mean, the way he goes after her, I think is
It's very visceral.
It's even a
Yes.
shot
Yes.
composition where she's really close to the camera and her face is big, and then,
and she's reaching towards
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets to that knife stuck in his back.
Yeah, so her goal is to get the list, and she does, and she also gets revenge on
Right.
Percival. She kills him,
Yes.
presumably for killing.
Good line, good one-liner. I like what
I
was it?
personally still think she would have killed him anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure, she
100%.
would have killed him because he knows that she's Satchel.
Yeah.
So she's got to kill him.
Right.
So she kills him for multiple reasons, and that's part of the fun too. Is that a lot of things kind of come together for why she's doing what she's doing.
And then we get back to the interrogation. Now, would you call back to the interrogation 9? Like beginning of 9?
Yeah. So basically now we're sort of in the present day and we wrap up the interrogation and then she goes back to the hotel and then we get our first big reveal I mean, we figured out, I think, especially when she kills Percival and he's like, that's how you're going to spin it, or how that's
Well,
how you
he
play
says,
it.
she says, you deceive the
Conrad,
deceiver or
right,
something like that. And
It's
She calls him
twice.
Conrad Satchel. Yeah. And
yeah.
he's like, oh, that's how you're going to play it. And then,
And then,
clearly
well,
he wouldn't
well,
be
the-
lying as he's dying. And then
well,
you're
the
like,
big reveal
whoa.
would be then the when she's in the room and she shows the doctored audio.
Yes.
That's a big
Yeah.
reveal.
That's
Because you're
what's happening.
wait,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's actively setting him
Yeah,
up.
she is actively setting him up.
Yeah.
And then she goes
list
back
is
to the
gone.
hotel and she seems to be with the KGB.
in not a blonde wig.
Yeah, and back to old spy classic, No Way Out with Kevin Costner. Which, if you haven't seen that,
I'm not. It's a good.
that's all I'm gonna say. Go watch No Way Out.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Go on.
Got
With the
Sean Young and Kevin Costner. Yeah, classic '80s spy movie.
I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
I have seen this movie.
I don't want to watch it again.
I forgot I've seen this
I
movie.
don't want to give away the ending.
No.
but
Oh,
it's
don't
a
say that.
classic.
That
ending
is a good movie.
that has some connection to this.
Sure.
We'll just say that.
I put it in my letterbox. I forgot I've seen this. I watched this a long
Yeah.
time ago.
And then we have of course, as you said, the sort of triple twist where it
Yes.
turns out she's not with the KGB, she's with the CIA.
CIA language.
And she has an American accent.
Yeah.
She has an American accent.
Yeah.
I honestly, that's my favorite part of the movie. Just because I like America, so
I mean,
I can't
like
help it.
Well, I hope you like America better than Russia, at
Yes.
least.
Yeah,
We
I know.
can-
That's
we can
what I'm
all
saying.
agree on
I
that,
just
right?
I mean, for me, I'm like, fuck yeah.
I like John Goodman way better than those other two British guys.
Yeah, of course.
So
It's
that
John
part I
Goodman.
liked. But I do feel like it was like a twist for twist's sake. Like it almost felt like they like had this twist in mind. They were like, let's write a movie that this twist works for.
Triple Agent.
Because
I liked it.
Because to me, it's just like I guess I understand the idea would be that they don't trust MI6, so they're
course
trying to
not.
flush the CIA is trying to. No, because
we all
she
spy
was
on
the
each other.
MI6.
Exactly, yeah.
She's the
I mean,
MI6.
it's-
She's in MI6, I guess, but then she's also the satchel, so she's feeding them false information. But why wouldn't she tell MI6 that? I mean, what she's doing is purely just fucking with the KGB. I don't see the reason to hide that from MI6 because all she's doing is feeding the KGB bad info. Why couldn't they know that?
Theoretically, she could have been like, I'm a double agent and I'm letting the KGB. And by the way, maybe she did, but
Sure.
because Satchel isn't necessarily a double agent, Satchel. So maybe MI6 knows that she's. I don't think we're.
But then they wouldn't tell her to go there. They wouldn't let her kill one of their agents unless they were just like, hey, that guy's kind of a douche. This is a great way to
I
kind
don't
of
think
kill
killing him, but I mean, for all we know, MI6 knows that she's going to see the KGB, but probably not.
Yeah, I don't think they know.
Yeah.
I don't have. A
It just
reason
feels
to
like one of those
suspect
things
they
like, oh, that's interesting. But then you're like, but wait. Well, then why did all these things happen?
Well, for one reason, she may not tell MI6 that she's working with the KGB because she doesn't trust MI6.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, again, they don't
if
trust.
this is just purely, hey, the
idiots.
CIA does not trust British intelligence, and so they're just going to infiltrate them too. I mean, if that's it,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I guess
100%.
that is the perspective that makes sense. But I guess the part that breaks me though is like the reason that MI6 is untrustworthy because there's this secret agent called Satchel that's giving the KGB info, and he's in the MI6. But she is the security breach in the MI6.
Yeah, but also I guess part of this is under the impression that the CIA are the good guys. They're also the bad guys. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're also. It's okay that they're, even if the MI6 might be good, actually, they might be good. CIA may be bad. The CIA really just wants the list. I mean, that's what they really want. Now they had the list on not only their side, the other side.
I guess I would have liked it better if it was clearly like the CIA being like, just fuck everybody. We do what we want. If that had been more clear of him being like, great, I'm glad we got the list. That's all we care about. We don't care about this MI6. We don't care about what happens in Berlin. We just wanted the list.
That to me was clear.
I mean, it's clear to me too, because that's the whole theme, I think, of a lot of what's happening, where none of the spies are trusting each other, and they're all literally and figuratively in bed with each other, and all this stuff is happening. Is that's everyone's out for themselves.
What's interesting is why does maybe we'll know this in the sequel, but why does Lorraine choose Langley over the others? Maybe it's just where she started, or who knows? But maybe there's some other.
Yeah, we don't know her background. You're right, and that maybe sets up a sequel. And there is a certain sense, I think, like you said, of like, the Americans, right?
Exactly.
This is the Americans. We're
Classic
Americans,
Hollywood
so this is
there for
exactly
you.
classic Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, that honestly is my favorite part of the movie is that little twist there. 'Cause I love John Goodman. I love the look.
I do like the interaction at the end and
it's
playing
great.
and
It's
stuff.
great. He
That's
does like
fun.
the flip and puts it in this thing, and she has like this smile, and it's great.
And then she doesn't have the accent anymore.
yeah, it's great. I love it.
I do wonder whether she's still working for
Is she a
MI6,
double
or
agent?
has she,
Yeah.
she's going to disappear.
Well, you have to think if she was an MI6 agent, she had to be there for probably like 2 decades. I mean, they don't just hire MI6ers off the street, right? I mean, it's like, hey,
I don't know if you have to be there for 2 decades, but she's obviously been at least a double agent for a while.
She's been
because
pretending to be
we
MI6.
know that she
Yeah.
has the respect of these people. She's been working with them for a while.
Yeah.
Now, she's probably only been a triple agent for less time.
Yeah.
Although in the script there's references to her having been in Moscow a lot, which is not left out of the movie.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
which is maybe
it's-
supposed to be a hint that she's.
I can naturally see a sequel going. We'll either find out what her original nationality was. Maybe she was MI6 and then flopped to CIA later, and then CIA was her master from that point on. Or maybe, and the classic thing is, I think the CIA could turn on her.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I feel like the sequel is going to be them arriving on that same airplane, and she steps off, and it's some kind of CIA death squad or something that she has to get herself out of.
I can see that 100%. Yeah. I'd be really curious to see what they do with the sequel, since they've set up this framework story.
And
How would they do?
How are they going to cross over with John Wick if this is like 3 decades before John Wick happens?
Yeah, I don't know how that would work
No.
either. And I
Time
don't,
travel.
I personally, I don't need that.
No,
I honestly don't want it.
They're
I don't-
two different worlds.
Yeah,
so
I don't
hope
want
that
it.
they keep them
I do
separate
too.
worlds.
I don't want
I mean, there is something in me that like loves the idea of seeing Charlize in her blonde wig and a white suit back to back with John in his black hair and his black suit, and just both pointing like. There's a really nice yin and yang.
They would be a
and
great
just,
team.
I don't know. It'd be
They
fun.
would be a great team. I will
White
say that.
with salt and pepper. You know
I don't
what
want the
mean?
worlds to collide, but and the characters together.
They could
be a lot of fun.
literally take
Yeah.
down a nation together. Yes.
Okay, well
Yeah.
we finished up the
Wrap it up,
movie.
yeah.
So what overall, Dan? Do you feel any better about it now after we've talked about it?
No, I think
I feel about the same almost.
I think I appreciate more of it than, like I said, I loved the costumes. I loved the lighting, the cinematography, the production design. All of that was just fun the whole time. It was pretty much, the movie was easy to look at the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The action was entertaining. I still feel like some of the dialogue for me I feel like we could have, if I'd been on that, if like, hey, take a pass at the script, I'd been like, let's make this better. Like just the dialogue, let's just change this, change that. But overall, I do think I liked your points about her fighting style. That's something I think I recognized when I was watching it, that this is different in a way that I like, but kind of understand like, yeah, that she never felt like anything different than just a woman that's really good at fighting. Mm-hmm. And that felt good. I'm still not crazy about the twist. I think probably part of it too is it's one of those twists that you probably can't figure out until they just tell you. And I don't like that. I'm like, fuck you. I want to know. I want to be able to figure this out. Right. And I don't feel like, at least on a first viewing, it would be possible at all to figure out the double twist.
Sure,
you might figure out she's Satchel, but you don't figure out she's also CIA. I don't think you could.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good movie to analyze. I'm glad I watched it. It's one of those movies that had been on my list, and yeah, it was a good discussion.
I'll watch the sequel. That's
Oh
nice.
yeah, I'm in for the sequel for sure.
I am too. I'm more curious than like excited.
Honestly, I think I might be more excited for the sequel just for the hope that we might get more character out of her character. I think if we might get some background, get some more of her, just who she is, I think I might be able to just be more in on the ride.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would say, in some ways our kind of narrative breakdown doesn't quite do it justice because
Sure.
I would agree that narratively is probably where its weak points are. You know, it doesn't always. I mean, actually, when you go back after you get the twist and you go back, it doesn't really fall apart. I mean, there might be a scene or two where you're like, well, what was the purpose?
The
like
bar scene is probably the worst culprit. Yeah,
but really, there aren't a lot of plot holes for a movie as complicated as it is, where it's kind of going back and forth. It all actually works really well. But I would agree that sometimes her goals don't, you're not quite sure what she's doing or why she's doing it. The whole thing with the list, I wish were tied in better. But just, for me, it's so much the visuals. It's visually announced. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie. Sounds great. I love the fight scenes that we already sort of discussed that. And I'll still, defend them as being, it's a different kind of movie than the John Wick movies, but I would say that equal but different, maybe not as peak in some places, but and I love female-centric action movies.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of those, so yeah.
Did you ever watch Anna?
I did.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I didn't know.
It's funny. If you go look at my Letterboxd thing, I think I said something to the effect of, "This movie's only okay, but I really liked it anyway." And we can also throw in the Jennifer Lawrence movie,
Red Sparrow.
Red Sparrow, and we can have a whole Russian spy trilogy with female leads.
I like Red Sparrow better.
I never saw Red Sparrow.
And also, but I have a big man crush on Joel Egerton though, so I just always loved him. But it's like, I call it Fincher light. It's like someone really want to be like kind of like Fincher in tone.
Yeah.
I kind of like that movie. I saw that movie in theaters actually. But
That's the one where she's the Russian spy, or she's a spy for Russia.
Yeah. And Anna's a lot of fun. It's also a Luc Besson movie.
Oh, really?
I believe so. So it just has kind of that dumb quality that his movies have. I mean, they're fun, but they're like Lucy,
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's also kind of dumb.
I've never seen Lucy.
Oh,
I actually own Lucy. I've never seen Salt either.
Oh my gosh!
seen
Yeah,
Salt
there you
either.
go. We can add that to another Russian spy
there's
movie.
all these female movies I haven't seen.
Well, speaking of Salt and James McAvoy,
Wanted. Yeah.
The Loom of Fate.
I like Wanted.
Oh, I love Wanted. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious movie. There is a thing called the Loom of Fate in that movie.
Really? There's that's
amazing.
That's the first time I've ever seen McAvoy was Wanted. That's my introduction to McAvoy. Yeah.
That movie's ridiculous, but it's
seen
a
Wanted?
lot of
No.
fun. Oh yeah, oh my gosh.
Morgan Freeman, Angelina Jolie. That's a fun movie, dude.
Yeah.
There's actually a game. They even made it. It's based off a graphic novel, but they made a game based off the graphic novel too when the movie came out, and the game's pretty good too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet
cool.
game actually.
Yeah.
They curve bullets in it. It's like it's very. You would like it. It's very fantasy.
Is that the main movie that curves bullets?
It's really
Is Shia LaBeouf?
no. It's literally we're curving.
I think that came out almost the exact same time as Eagle Eye. And I remember watching the Eagle Eye commercials and that maybe at the same time. And I'm like, brain is.
And they literally curve bullets by shooting.
Yes,
like
yes. Okay. I know. I've seen parts of Wanted because of the shooter thing. Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
I've been dying to watch Wanted. I haven't watched it since then. I've almost bought it on Steelbook like 10,000 times. I haven't done it.
I got Steve Stanley to watch it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Wow.
He thought it was funny. He liked it.
His favorite movie of all time is Last Dragon over there. Or one of his favorite movies is Last Dragon over there. So that's our bonding moment with Steven Stanley. No, that's funny. I need to watch that movie again. I need to watch all these movies, I guess. But Red Sparrow, I bought it last fall on Black Friday because I wanted to own it finally.
Yeah.
And just because, and the thing is, I don't love that movie. I just I feel like.
No, but it's one of those that's just fun to watch.
Yeah, there's something interesting about it.
I'll turn that on.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Lawrence is also not bad to look at. So there's a common theme for some of these movies.
Yeah.
This isn't going to turn into which movies are these stars naked in? Is it?
I don't think so.
Because Jennifer Lawrence
is naked. I know. I didn't say it. I was.
It's the podcast version of the website from
Skin or Mr. Skin or whatever they call it.
It's not 40-Year-Old Virgin, but it's the other one. The Hangover. No, not the Hangover either. The one with Seth Rogen where he gets what's her name?
Knocked Up.
Knocked Up.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Charlize got naked in this one. Jennifer gets naked in Red Sparrow.
Thanks, Donovan.
What's wrong with us?
We'll
Come
check
on,
in for the
guys.
naked report next week with
I
Donovan.
was just saying they're not bad to look at. I wasn't commenting on. I didn't say one time Charlize got naked in this movie, and she gets naked multiple times. I didn't say it once.
It's true, Katie. He didn't.
I didn't say it once.
It's true. No, it's okay.
I almost commented. I almost said I didn't.
My couch is available.
I almost said, man, McAvoy was shredded. I almost said that over Charlize Theron.
Does he ever have his
was.
shirt fully
He
off?
does.
Yeah.
He has like a crazy obliques. It's crazy. He is good.
Yeah, I felt like this was like, well, it wouldn't have been there. But I was like, hey, it looks like he's in, well, for one, he
Split.
looked like he was like in Split.
Yeah,
The same
he's-
haircut
he's
as
shredded
Split.
in Split. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's crazy good. He's really lean. Anyway, Bruce, thank you so much for joining us on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Atomic
Thank you
Blonde.
for indulging me.
Yeah, of course.
Because I hadn't done a breakdown on Atomic Blonde.
I
so it
wanted
was
to
a lot
watch
of
it
fun to
again
do it. Yeah.
eventually anyway. I just hadn't gotten around to it, and this was an excuse to do that. So we'll figure out the next movie sometime soon what we're going to do.
I like getting to, we're getting some variety now. We've gone from superhero to action. It'll be fun to figure out what we find next to appease your ears.
We'll find something cool. Daniel, where can our listeners write into us?
They can write into bit.ly/2for1mail. There's a nice little form there. Put your name, put your username, or whatever else you want to put in there. I'd love to hear your opinions on Atomic Blonde. See if there's any Atomic Blondies out there. Maybe that's what their fan groups. I don't know. I'm coining that. So all you Atomic Blondies.
All right.
Why didn't we eat Blondies while we watched this?
And your 10 followers have just dropped down to 0.
All of them. And of course,
There, I am the only dad here, so I can qualify all my
You get to tell
dumbass
the dad
jokes.
jokes.
Yeah,
There you go.
dumbass jokes.
and of course, you can go to podcast2for1.com for all your podcast 2for1 news and services. And of course, we always recommend going to the YouTube channel. There you can subscribe to us. And of course, leave a comment below or check out our Bitly and recommend a movie to us to break down.
Maybe that's what we should do. We should put like a poll up on our Facebook
we
and
can do
someone
that.
be like, hey, we're doing another one. What do you think?
Yeah, we knew that.
Joel Williams, our one guy that comments. Let us know.
What movie do you want us to break down, Joel?
It's probably going to be, he was in Green Lantern. He's an extra in Green Lantern.
Yeah, he
so-
was.
Yeah,
He's extra.
probably
Probably
going to be
things.
that one.
And Jonah Hex, I think, which is so weird.
Yeah, Jonah
All
Hex.
these off-brand DC movies.
I don't think I've seen Jonah Hex.
That's Trip.
It's got Megan Fox in it.
I know. I do like Megan Fox.
Who doesn't? I've become a bad
Let's
person.
check in.
this episode.
Donovan, what movies
It's
is
241, the sexist podcast.
Yeah, hey, Donovan, can we check what movies is Megan naked in? Just a quick.
Jennifer's Body. And anyway,
I
My name
did
is
not
not-
expect him to just have that right.
I would have said that too.
my name is Donovan Thompson,
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
And I'm Bruce Hutchinson.
and we have spoken.